Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
You worry about yourself. Are you ready for him? What if he comes now, eh?
Reminds me of that fella back home that fell off a 10-story building.
Heard about him.
Well, as he was falling, people on each floor kept hearing him say, "So far, so good. So far, so good."
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show at 9 o'clock, well 9:01 now, on the 26th of September. Yeah, we're live on time for a change.
We need a cookie for that.
Yeah, I know I can't have cookies, I just had a twirl a little while ago, so I'm like
I can't have
sugared
chocolate,
out.
it gives me a headache.
Yeah, I'm all sugared out though, so I'm like, yeah, that's why I can even hear it, I'm talking really fast.
If that's the case, then can somebody just send me like some food, considering I'm not long just getting home, so I'm quite hungry.
Get you
So
some
if somebody
glucose.
wants to order me some takeaway from some nice place and they live in the Sunderland area, or they're listening to live somewhere else and they think that they can get it to me before the end of the show, please do so.
No, because the show will be interrupted by someone knocking at your door.
That's why I said at the end of the show, and they can't knock at my door because I have to press a button and that there doesn't work. So they still wouldn't annoy me, and so the guy would be standing outside there with takeaway, and then me drooling. A bit like the animals in The Secret Life of Pets. You know, the bit where Chloe, the cat, goes into the fridge and has got all the cake and stuff.
Cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we're not here to discuss food and things, we're here to discuss movies.
We're the new Great British Bake Off.
Yeah, we're taking over for
Great British Movie
we're
Off.
taking over from Mel and Sue.
Yeah, we're filling the slot on BBC One. We're also taking over Film 2016. We're merging the shows together.
Oh, that would be terrible. Actually, no, that'd be good to like sit there eating something that's been cooked during the show about talking about the film. And be like, no, so I think this this one was really
each week, get some kind of foodie related thing tied into one of the movies we're reviewing.
And the director's done a really, really good job with this thing, you know.
So now I've got my brain in working order, looking over the films we're looking at to try and show in some kind of foodie related thing.
No, there's none of them. There's none of them except for the fact of that there are things called hungries in one of them. Yeah,
but I'm trying to think, so it's going to give me a couple of seconds to think.
No, just go on to what we're doing this week.
Yeah, well, Antoine Fuqua remakes a remake. So we're getting remakes, but now we're getting remakes of remakes in The Magnificent Seven. Anything foodie related? Nope. No. And then we have small British horror drama with The Girl with All the Gifts. A small drama, my guess is, because I don't know nothing about this movie. Dare to be Wild.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie brings us his vision of hell in Horror 31.
Yeah,
31
of course.
Could be a number at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Sort of foodie related.
But of course before that we'll have some movie news in the box office top 10, and then after that we'll have the DVD section, which will start off with the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, and then these new releases. Yeah,
Shane Black's buddy comedy movie with The Nice Guys. The upcoming Final Fantasy 15 game gets a movie treatment with Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15. And then we'll have Jane Austen inspired romantic drama with hints of comedy and love and friendship. And then horror, and now this is food related, starring Kevin Bacon. Haha, In the Darkness. I knew I'd find somewhere.
Yeah, that was a bit weak though, really.
I know, but still, Kevin Bacon, thank you. Thank you, Kevin Bacon. You have a last name, surname, which is food related. It's still in there somewhere, so if that's the case, if we were on BBC One doing a mashup show with cookery and films...
And no one would be watching it.
What?
Then no one would be watching it if we were doing it.
You never know.
Yeah. Anyway, then, let's get going with some movie news to get things started off. I've just got one piece of news, as kind of usual, but it is to do with Star Wars. So it's one of our two quotas for the week, you know, of Star Wars or Marvel stuff. Disney.
I have Marvel covered.
Okay. Disney's confirmed that they have a plan for a third Star Wars anthology movie. The first one was going to be released this December, on 15th of December. 16th of December even. Will be Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. And this is in line with, of course, Episode 8 of Star Wars will be released next year on December 15th. And there's going to be an Episode 9 which will be directed by Colin Trevorrow in 2019. But there's also going to be Solo, a Star Wars story, which has already been announced in 2018. Well, now we know, we don't know what, but we know for sure they have a movie lined up for 2020.
Hooray.
Yeah.
So we're going to be all Marveled out, and we're going to be all Star Wars out as well.
Yeah, well, it's going to be, as it's been an anthology, it's going to be a story that's referred to, or a character or something. So, I don't know, there's people are going speculation, of course, Yoda, or Boba Fett.
Sorry.
Boba Fett, or I personally wouldn't mind seeing like an Obi-Wan Kenobi one, from
Obi-Wan Kenobi one.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
My brain is scrambled and it's in. So you think you're hyper? I don't know where the hyperness has come from. You would think I would be falling asleep.
No, it's like the thing. It just reminded me of the things like reading out the football scores. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi 2.
4-4-5. 5-4. What?
No, but of course, I think an Obi-Wan Kenobi film would be a good one.
Yeah, an old Ben one would probably be the obvious choice to go with.
Well, no, obviously they just got Ewan McGregor has now aged since doing the role he took it over in the prequels, so of course he can come back and play the character in between episodes 3 and 4.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That would be the easiest one to go with, the one where they could expand on it much more so, rather than, because you can't do R2D2 C3PO because that would just be too childish, and there's enough of them to hold an entire film. They've
kind of been the characters all the way through it anyway, but the thing is, if you do an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, that would tie in with the timeline of everything, because obviously you have the Star Wars the Rogue One story, so it is set between episodes 3 and 4, and presumably the Han Solo one, which is going to be I don't know if it's going to be an origin one or just a young Han Solo film, will be around about that same time as well. So there's the potential then of paths crossing, storylines being connected, things being referenced in each other and stuff. So it ties in. It's not one that's going to be way out of time with the others, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. So I can probably see that there, but we've got a lot of Star Wars to come, and it's not going to slow down.
It's making money for them, of course. I mean, they paid, but of course they paid, what was it, $1.5 billion for it,
and they've pretty much already made that back on one film alone. Because if you roll into all the things like merchandise, and obviously how well the film did in the cinema, they'll make, I think, good $500 million just off the cinema alone, and then they'll have made money back from the DVDs. The DVD sales and Blu-ray sales was pretty much a bonus for them, so they've easily gone over $1 billion already. So they should be very close to $1.5 billion already just on the buying the license. So it prints them money.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I still haven't actually got The Force Awakens on because, well, I'm going to get it, but I want the 3D one, and the 3D one has got a release date now of October 31st. They kept holding it back, so apparently now
they did do that. Why did they do that?
Because people will buy it twice.
Yeah, that's true. So a Prometheus kind of thing, or something like that.
But obviously the 3D version comes out in a month's time now, so.
Or as they've done with The Martian, because The Martian gets a re-release next week, and
it's an extended on 4K version,
Ultra HD, and an extended edition.
Yeah.
News that I've got 4 pieces written down. I found another one before we start the show, and I'm ending off with something a bit silly. Well, it's preposterous. But the news I've got written down is Sam Neill has confirmed that he has a role in the new Thor film. During an interview while promoting his latest film, The Hunt for the Wilder People, the actor said, "Oddly enough, I'm not really allowed to say this, and I can't tell you what it is. I did a couple of days on Thor just before I came over here."
Okay. Well.
So he's not releasing who his character is at all, but he has confirmed that he has done something for Thor. Obviously, because Taika Waititi is the director of the new Thor film, so he probably said, "You know what? Why don't you just do something in the new Thor film for us?" Because he directed The Hunt for the Wilder People as well.
Just get him to throw in, and it's probably just a throwaway role or something, but it could be something, maybe setting up something, who knows.
But it's Sam Neill is in it, so there's your Marvel stuff. I have another Marvel-related story a little bit later. New Line Cinema have confirmed they have picked up the big screen rights to the mobile game Fruit Ninja. So again, that's your food-related thing.
Oh dear.
I know. Oh dear indeed. Oh dear indeed. Well, you saw how well Angry Birds did, so they're pretty much shipping out all mobile games that have been popular. So prepare to see Candy Crush next. Probably.
Yeah, so what they're saying is make a puzzle game and then sell the movie rights.
Yes, well they did that with Angry Birds. I don't know how the heck they're going to handle Fruit Ninja.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just because it's sort of it'll be on the same sort of level as the new film Monster Trucks, which is out early next year. Which I know they've added trailers to films that were out in the summer. Now that's predicting to be a big, huge, massive box office bomb, to the tune of around about 120 million, and I don't get how they've managed to actually come up with something like that when the film is not even out until February next year. I really hope it proves them wrong.
Yeah.
A couple of pieces of delayed news when it comes to films and the Paramount and horror related. So Paramount have confirmed they've delayed 2 of their upcoming horror films. Firstly, Rings, which is the third in the Ring series, has been pushed back from its October 20th release to February the 3rd, 2017.
It's quite a bit.
It is, considering that the film was supposed to be out about 4 weeks away.
The thing is, I'm wondering, did the second one do well enough to really get a sequel?
It did okay. So
I thought it kind of just disappeared.
But it did enough for Paramount to go, you know what, let's bring the series back.
I thought it kind of just disappeared.
It did, but you saw what happened with Blair Witch and Lionsgate. They attached it to The Woods, and then they brought that back in a way. So maybe Paramount saw what Lionsgate was doing with that and thought, you know what, it's probably time to bring back the Ring series. So instead of doing a remake of the Japanese Ring Zero, which is the way they should have gone, they've gone and done a sequel, which is the first new film in the Ring series since Ring Zero. The second film that's been delayed is the new Friday the 13th movie. Now that film, to my knowledge, hasn't even been shot yet. That's to my knowledge anyway. Was supposed to have come out on February the 3rd, 2017, but now, obviously, it's been pushed back to October the 13th, 2017, which is a Friday.
That's a film that may actually get delayed longer than the Crowe remake.
Probably. Yeah, but it was... The film, like I said, to my knowledge, doesn't even have a director attached. So it's sort of like the Leatherface movie. You know, there's a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. That movie's just dropped off the radar completely. It's just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened. That movie, I think, had 3 release dates this year alone, and it's just disappeared. I don't know where it's gone.
It's the problem of studios releasing. Announcing release dates for films before they've actually made the films, and it's what the way is now, and just unfortunately it's going to happen with sometimes if they haven't got everything together, they're not going to have a film for the date they're saying. So
yeah, a couple of more pieces. THR reporting that Jamie Dornan is in talks to play Robin Hood in the new movie Robin Hood Origins. It's an origin Robin Hood story.
Another one. It's not been that long since Russell Crowe's one, which admittedly I did enjoy, the Ridley Scott one, but we don't need another one, not this soon.
Yeah, Empire, during an interview with Empire magazine, Benedict Cumberbatch has confirmed that his character Doctor Strange will be in the new Avengers film.
Yeah, that was a given.
Yeah, and now on to the silly piece of news. Honestly, I don't know how to read this out, but 2 Catholic priests have said that Harry Potter could be causing an increase in exorcisms in the UK. Speaking to the Times, one of the priests who works as an exorcist in central London and Kent said there has been a greater interest in exorcisms and accused the dangerous Harry Potter books of making children believe in black magic. Popular culture is in full of the preternatural, said the priest. Young people are watching things about vampires and Harry Potter, and however much people claim to have moved away from mainstream religion, there remains the need to believe in something invisible. It's normal for humans to have a morbid fascination with the idea of a battle with evil, and to paint a caricature, the exorcist coming like a wizard to help. Oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah, let's just move on.
I just thought I would put that in there because it's such a stupid, preposterous story that it just makes your head just go, what? Right, the UK box office top 10.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, there's a film that went in it only at number 15, which is unfortunate.
Yep.
Is Taika Waititi's Hunt for the Wilder People.
And apparently that has been not due to the lack of demand for it, because people have been trying to see it, but it's just been on in limited numbers.
63 screens, which is an unfortunate thing because it's a fantastic film. It would have been nice if it was a lot more cinemas sort of like brought it under its fold and go, you know what, let's show it on the screens.
Given that the number one film literally was released in 10 times as many, 630 screens.
And it's taken more than than all the films from number 2 to number 10 combined. So a number 10 dropping down from last week's number 2 is Ben-Hur.
Yeah, disappointing sequel. It's not that it's bad, it's basically that it's largely boring for the most part. There's a couple of sequences that are kind of cinematically worthy, but the rest of the film isn't. The characters aren't interesting, and part of the problem is the fact that it's a 3.5 hour film originally that's been stripped down to a 2 hour film with a lot of the elements taken out. But the thing is with that is that the original Ben-Hur isn't a massively great film. The thing about it is that for the running time of it means you're with the characters a lot longer before they start having problems and things start going wrong, and then it starts to get interesting and you're like, oh, you actually care for the characters because you spent a lot of time with them. In this one, you haven't. It starts off with them having one of them being injured in a horse race right at the beginning, as soon as the credits finish, and then it cuts to so much time later, and then things start to really kick off, and you just don't care.
I still believe, and I still got that last little glimmer of hope that Timur Bekmambetov will direct another good film. You can, even if you look at his awful films, you can see there is a spark somewhere in that movie. Again, with Ben-Hur, it's not a very good film at all, but there is something in there which indicates that Timur Bekmambetov does have a good film in him somewhere, and I think to get that good film out of him, he needs to go back to Russia and he needs to go and release a film in his own language. I think that's where we're going to get him back.
The thing is, Ben-Hur isn't badly directed.
It's not bad.
It's a good, competent direction, but it's the thing of the scripting is the problem. The script is basic, doesn't have anything to it, and it's a script remake, which is basically expecting the director to make it into something fantastic. But the thing is, there's not enough there to actually be made into it, so it doesn't have the potential that it needs to be a big blockbuster thing.
But you can definitely see where I'm coming from with Timur Bekmambetov. You can see that there is something there which would hopefully, like for example, we are reviewing a film on next week's show called Deepwater Horizon, and it came to our knowledge that it's directed by Peter Berg. Mm-hmm. Now he's a director who has hits and misses. He had a really bad miss with Battleship, and then he
saying that again, Battleship, as much as you hate it because it's really cheesy and it's bad, there is nothing in it that at any point that the direction is really, really flawed, is there? It's just badly, no real story or anything, just stupid character things, but it's got a solid direction behind it.
No, I think that as a big massive whole, Battleship is a horrendous film from the writing to the directing to the acting. It's just really badly constructed. But Peter Berg proves that he can direct. He has had some good films, and so I'm hoping that's the case with Timur Bekmambetov. Well, on the number 9 movie, it's a new one for The Infiltrator. Yeah,
which is it's a weird one basically because it's a film about something you've seen before about the drug smuggling and that going on, and it's based on the true story that happened in the I think it's late 70s, early 80s. And you have Bryan Cranston as this character who's basically a man who was a customs agent who went undercover and infiltrated one of the cartels. And it's, as I say, it's nothing you haven't seen before, but it's nothing you haven't seen before being done by Bryan Cranston. So it's kind of worth seeing just for his performance alone, because he's one of those actors who just literally, you could just sit there and watch him reading the phone book and it would be, something amazing about it. It's a good film, and the thing that's really surprising is in the film is John Leguizamo, who is one of these actors who is very hit and miss, more miss than hit, to be honest. And in this film, he's absolutely really fantastic because he's playing against Bryan Cranston. He manages to bring that out in him. So it's worth seeing for the performances, not really worth it for the stories, not really worth it for, there's no really action in it. It's got some tension in some scenes, but there's nothing special to it apart from the performances. But it's not it's not Trumbo worthy, it's not that level of performance, it's not an Oscar performance, it's just a good thriller performance.
Yeah, before we get into the number 8, a little piece of news that I've just seen there. I don't know if you played the video game or heard of the video game Firewatch.
Nope.
Well, it's getting a movie to video game treatment thingy, so it's getting turned into a movie. Firewatch was a small release on the PlayStation 4 earlier this year, which sees you play a fire warden in the middle of a forest. Then all of a sudden, the forest becomes alight, and you have to discover who's actually doing that. There's this sort of like a tiny bit of a supernatural element to it as well, but it's really about this guy.
Is that from the same makers of Alan Wake?
Alan Wake? No, it isn't. No.
Okay.
It's from a small little company, but yeah, it's getting turned into a film, and I think it would actually work. Well, back into the top 10 at number 8 is Finding Dory.
Yeah, which I've finally seen. And I got to say, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was great. Nothing better than the first one. I didn't think it was any worse than the first one. It just obviously didn't have that. It doesn't have the of it being, because obviously you know a lot of the type of the animation, you know the characters and that going on. But the thing again is that's key with animation is it has the ingenuity that's there of the design of the world, of the creatures, of the humour that's brought into it by them. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fine.
You can see what I mean when I said that, because the fact that it doesn't treat anybody differently no matter what their disability is.
Yeah.
It does that with Finding Dory, because a lot of the animals in Finding Dory have a disability, whether it be Dory herself, who can't remember stuff, to a wheel which doesn't have very good echolocation. It's got that good sort of like balance, and it shows you, so what, you're different, you shouldn't be treated different. Number 7 is Bad Moms,
which is perfectly fine. It's one of these kind of films that it does kind of reel back from going into the gross out comedy wing, which works in its favour. Mila Kunis is perfectly fine in the role, though not entirely believable in it, as a mother of two 10-year-olds kids sort of age. But it's perfectly enjoyable, and it is worth watching for staying in the end credits, because it has a different thing at the end credits, which is not, I don't think I've actually seen in a film before, but it's kind of interesting to cap it off with that. And it's perfectly fun. It gets the laughs, passes the 6 laugh test easily, and worth seeing.
Yeah, and according to Andrew, I'm breaking up a little bit. But
yeah,
I think it's just the connection with our Skype callers acting up just a smidge. At number 6 is Don't Breathe.
I haven't seen this one.
Oakley, and do you have any intentions to see this one?
I kind of do want to see it, but I just don't think I'm going to get a chance, because I don't think it's going to be around that much longer. It seems to be getting dropped by a lot of cinemas.
Yeah, it's directed by Fede Alvarez, and it's not like over the top gorefest as The Evil Dead is. It has a problem with Fede Alvarez said at the start, before the film came out, that he was trying to make a movie that wasn't like gruesomely nasty, and unfortunately drops the ball in the last 15-20 minutes when there is a scene which is pretty stupid to actually put in the movie. It doesn't need to be in there, and that's when the quality of the film goes downhill. The first, I would say, 45-50 minutes is quite tense. It's very well shot and very well created. There's one specific scene where it just pushes you over and you go, yep, you've lost me. And number 5 is Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal animation. Leica proving again that stop motion animation isn't dead. It's a film that I thought was really well written, really witty and funny, and also quite kind of strong at heart. And the thing about it is, there's several times I'm watching it and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I'm watching a stop motion animation here. And I'm forgetting that I'm watching a stop motion animation. There's sequences in it which are just beautifully done, and it's a real visual feast of just that being that work that's gone into it has fully paid off. It's really impressive film, and it's also fun to boot as well.
And it's had the lowest drop off of any of the films in the top 10. So well done for it on that. At number 4 is Sausage Party, which was last week's number 1.
I mean, it is, you're talking of comedy and gross out comedy, as we were with sort of Bad Mums. It doesn't have the restraint that Bad Mums does. And anyway, it just decides we're going to go full out, do all these kind of humour and adult jokes to the extreme. It has some sort of funny sequences. It does have the laughs, but then the more it goes on, the more it starts to realise it doesn't have the laughs it needs for the full running time, and starts to go into full-on riotous, out of taste humour.
Yeah, number 3 is a new entry for the Beatles, 8 Days a Week, the touring years.
Yeah, we haven't seen this. It's had a small, tiny release when it was during last week, because it was there was a live premiere being done at the same night, but one showing in places everywhere, and they sold out weeks ago. And it's been a huge success for that. I think it is now getting another release, but it's getting a limited release. I think the amount that it's taken has been because of that screening that has been sort of one thing, but I don't know what's happening. I think it's just getting a very limited run now, so in the next weeks we'll probably see it drop out of the top 10 completely.
Probably. So number 2 is a new entry for Blair Witch.
I haven't seen this. I probably won't see it.
Yeah, this is the film which was originally called The Woods and was directed by Adam Wingard. I think it should have remained as The Woods. I think Lionsgate should have had a bit more intelligence with the film itself, because they're the distributors of it, and they revealed at this year's Comic-Con that the film had gone under the knife a little bit to change into Blair Witch, and you can see where the Blair Witch stuff and the Blair Witch myth is being shoehorned into the film. You can take that stuff. I think they turned around to Wingate and says, we're giving you an extra month, shoot these Blair Witch stuff, put these bits and bobs in the film itself, and there you go. It's a movie that I think would have survived better under the guise of The Woods rather than the Blair Witch. But that's not to say the film is bad, because it's not. It's a good film. However, Shane, who does the video game show with me and Al, I think this is his favourite film of the year. He says it's an absolutely phenomenal film. It's not. It's a really good horror film, but it's not a good Blair Witch movie. It's better than Book of Shadows, though, but that's easy. And then number 1 is a new entry for Bridget Jones's Baby.
Yeah, which we haven't seen. Admittedly, we try and see stuff and review it, but first of all, we haven't had time for a lot of things. Secondly, neither of us have seen the previous 2 films, so we don't have any kind of frame of reference for it, and it's not really, I think, for audience. It's done phenomenally, of course, because it's kind of like one of these things. It's like a national treasure thing. You know, you could release anything with Bridget Jones' name on it in the cinema after so long, and it would go straight to number 1, as long as there wasn't anything, you know, like, I don't know, a Marvel film on the same weekend.
Yeah, before we go into the first review, friend of the show, Bouncy, or Nathan, I just love this. On Twitter, he's posted up a picture. He works in a cinema, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He's a manager in a cinema.
Yeah, and he's posted up a picture saying, Cat came into work, gave Cat cheese, Cat now lives at work, we are best friends and going on adventures, need to name Cat. So if you want to name Bouncy B. Hall's Cat at his work, follow him on Twitter and name his Cat. What a strange thing to walk into a cinema.
Yeah, Cat. But don't call it Bridget Jones.
No.
Okay, first release this week then, The Magnificent Seven, which is directed by Antonie Fuqua. It's based on the Magnificent Seven film has been made. There's Magnificent Seven Rides Again. I think there was another one as well since then, and there was another one before that. Basically though, the original version of Magnificent Seven is actually a Japanese film. It is The Seven Samurai, of course. So this is a direct remake, apparently, of that. So they based it off of the script of that, and sort of made attempts to make no reference to the previous films that have been made. Of course, you have the characters setting up. You have the main character we're introduced to, played by Denzel Washington, is Chisholm, who is a man who basically is a warrant officer, and in the way we're introduced to him is very, very much like the character out of Quentin Tarantino's. I keep forgetting the name of it now. The one with Christoph Waltz as the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name of it now. Completely
Not
gone.
Inglorious.
No. The next one after that. It is Django, yes. Django, that's the one. Yeah, Django Unchained. And there's a scene which basically has him introduced in exactly the same way as we're introduced to Christoph Waltz's character in action, capturing a bounty. It then goes from then on as he is approached by a woman and a couple of people who basically are looking for people to help them essentially get retribution and revenge on the people who have killed, amongst them her husband, that are basically sort of set fire to their church in their town, and a group led by a character played by Peter Sarsgaard, who is basically chasing the people out of the town because it's near to a mine where he's running and he basically wants the land. So of course Chisholm looks into this, finds out that he kind of wants to help them, and sets about trying to raise essentially an army, which leads to collecting several people. You have a character played by Chris Pratt, who is a kind of a bit of a drunkard card player. You have Ethan Hawke, who is the old sort of experienced and haunted expert rifle shot called Goodnight Robichaux. You have Vincent D'Onofrio plays a kind of a wild man who lives out in the middle of nowhere, but is basically a very hard man to put down and will take you out very easily. And amongst all these people, obviously Goodnight being there, having to train them, kind of finds himself in a situation where he's going to have to fire a gun as much as he doesn't want to. Here's a clip.
These men need inspiration. Inspire them. You are Goodnight Robichaux, after all. Ain't you?
I can hit, Sam. We need the lead.
23 confirmed kills at Antietam. This is one of Connolly's Confederate sharpshooters, dubbed the Angel of Death. Do what he does. He's a legend.
That's some fancy shooting there.
Well, they call him good night.
Told you.
So you heard there as well Chris Pratt, who is the one who's also sort of trying to lead the men and put them together, assemble the town, what's left of the town, so they can try and fight off an approaching army that's coming. It's a film that it's one of these, of course, remakes that is not entirely soulless, but of course you watch it and you're going, well, why do we need to do this? Of course we don't. But the thing is, what Antonie Fuqua does, actually Antonie Fuqua is a good director. His last film was The Equalizer, which I really disliked because...
We're just getting the sequel.
Yeah.
So the Sequelizer. Sorry.
Yeah, that doesn't help though. I really disliked it because I know the original series, I know the character of that, and it kind of really spat in the character's face to me. But this is obviously one I have to admit, I've not seen the originals, either Magnificent Seven or Seven Samurai, in a long time. So I kind of want to go back, because obviously with Ben-Hur I did go back and rewatch it. I had time to do it. I didn't get a chance to do it this time. And I can't imagine that this is better than them, because it's not a great film. It's perfectly serviceable. It's got some decent action sequences. It's solidly directed. It's just that by the time you get to the end of the film, you're just going to walk out and go, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't, but I'm not kind of like all raving about it. I don't want to go see it again. I'm like, it was okay, fine. I didn't have a problem with it. The one thing actually I did dislike mostly about it, and it's a bit of a shame, but the musical score for the film really distracted me, because it felt like it just didn't belong. It didn't really have any kind of theme to it, and they do play the Magnificent Seven theme, but right at the end of the credits. And I just really wish that. And the issue is basically, I think that the musical score is by James Horner, and I can't remember who it is, but someone else composed it with him. I think what's happened though is, for anyone who's not aware, James Horner did die last year in a plane accident, and so this film has been obviously in production all that time, and I think that whoever the other person is, I can't remember their name, has come in or been brought in at the time and then tried to work off of whatever James Horner had done, and I think that's been a mistake. I think they should have done their own thing, done a new thing. Unfortunately, I mean, it would be a shame to dispose of whatever he'd done, but it just doesn't really do him or the film any service and do him any justice. It's perfectly fine, as I say. The roles, the actors are perfectly good in it. They are all kind of, these seven characters that all have their individual parts that they do, but I just honestly by the end of it I was kind of like, okay, I didn't need to see it. It was perfectly fine. I could have done without it. So I mean, I sound a bit like a damp squib, but it's basically what it is. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just okay.
It sounds like it's a step up from the Equalizer, but that wasn't going to be very hard anyway. But
it's a step up from the Equalizer and a step up from Ben-Hur.
The thing with the Magnificent Seven, even if you go back to the Seventh Samurai, the original version of the story, and then you go to the Magnificent Seven, the one with Yul Brynner in it, which I've seen a couple of times. The thing with the film is the ensemble cast need to work because they've all got their own traits, so they need to feed off each other really well. So is that apparent in the film itself, or do you think that the characters are a bit loose?
No, there is
connect well together.
They kind of do connect, but because they have all got their own things. I mean, you got there's Ethan Hawke, as you say, obviously is the guy who's a crack shot with a rifle, but he's got issues of obviously he was a man at war and he doesn't really want to do that anymore. You have Bang Hoon Lee, who is basically a Japanese cowboy who's basically really good with knives, and he's like, he can basically, you know, kill you with a knife at 20 yards and faster than you can shoot him, and it's shown in the film, you know. You have Vincent D'Onofrio's character, who is a guy he's obviously some kind of he lives a bit out on his own, and he's not entirely great with people, but even then there's a point when he explains, you know, what he's like, and you kind of go, oh, okay, character development, there is some in it, you know. And so there is, each of them have that, so there's none of them that are badly written. It's again kind of like talking about the Infiltrator in the top 10. It's just a film that has loads of things in it that you've seen before, and it doesn't really do anything new to it. It doesn't do anything that kind of it takes as its own. It just kind of goes, oh, I'll have a bit of that, I'll have a bit of that, I'll do that, yeah, that'll work, and just puts it together.
Yeah, so a very sort of like typical the kind of stuff that we've been seeing blockbuster season as of late.
I will say this, that there's a sequence in it towards the battle at the end, and I saw it in the Cineworld have now done most of the sites. They've done what's called a super screen, and they basically have really kind of supercharged it, big screen, and they put in the new surround systems, which has the speakers that are basically you could not go from speaker to speaker further than like sort of a meter or something. There's hundreds.
Is it an Atmos system to have the
It is,
on
yeah,
the ceiling as
exactly,
well?
yeah, on the ceiling, yeah, and the sound for that in some of the battle sequences and the shootout and stuff were really quite well done and very well all over the place, and I was quite impressed by that aspect of it, the sound design of the action sequences. So I mean, it's not a complete and total bust, but it's just basically kind of when you walk out, okay, enjoyed it, was fun. I did enjoy it, but I just literally walked out and was like, yeah, okay, what now?
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to watch a big blockbuster movie in a Dolby Atmos screen, do that. Please do, because I watched Everest on the latest sort of like version of IMAX, which is Laser IMAX, which is still a very few places that have got that, but there was a Dolby Atmos system in that, and honestly, watching a film like that is just insanely phenomenal. I would gladly watch a Transformers movie with Dolby Atmos, because then at least I would get the decent sound. Bad film, decent sound. Let's completely like go down to a small contained film then, in Girl with All the Gifts. Now, it's directed by Colm McCarthy. Now, previously he's only ever done one film in a movie. It's a film called Outcast, which was a small little Scottish horror film. After that, and prior to that, he's done TV series. So he's done things like Spooks and Murphy's Law. He also directed an episode of Doctor Who. He did the entirety of the second season of Peaky Blinders as well. And he also directed an episode of Sherlock, so from season 1. So the premise of The Girls All the Gifts, it's based on a novel, which I can't remember the name of the writer of the novel, but it is based on a novel of the same name.
Mike Carey.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's centered in a time when you don't know, and you don't know where it's actually set until we get a little bit further into the film. What we do know is it's set in a bunker, an underground bunker, in the middle of wherever it is, and it centers around a teacher, Helen Justineau, who's played by Gemma Arterton, and the fact that she is sort of like a teacher to these group of children. Now, when you first see these children, you see them in wheelchairs with these orange jumpsuits on. They're actually tied into the wheelchairs, and you're thinking, what's going on? You were wondering what's going on. And one of the children, Devani, who's brilliantly played by Dominique Tipper, she seems to be the smartest out of all of the children there. Then, out of nowhere, when Gemma Arterton's character decides to brush Devani's hair, in comes charging Paddy Considine's character, who plays Sergeant Eddie Parks, who says, "Stop it." And then he reveals why he needs to stop it. It's actually in the trailer as well. He actually wets his hand, rubs his wrist, and then he presents it to one of the kids, and then all of a sudden their jaws start to detach and they start making growling noises, and you instantly think there's something seriously wrong with them. Then, out of nowhere, there's a huge massive attack from all these supposed things called zombies, but in the movie they are known as hungries, charge into the base, destroy the base, and then we're out in the middle of nowhere. And so, we're out in the middle of nowhere, and we discover it is London. And so London, which is sort of like looking like the video game The Last of Us. If you played that, it's all covered in vegetation, but is surrounded by hungries. And Andrew's just alluded to me, I've got the wrong name. I hate IMDb. I completely forgot the character's name, and so you'd think that IMDb would list them in importance. Nope, it doesn't. So the character's called Melanie, and it's played by Sanaya Nanawa. So thank you.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it's played by Sanaya Nanawa. Don't mind being corrected on that. You could have actually just said it instead of writing it in chat there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll give you all the credit from that front there. So yeah, it's very much like The Last of Us, and it's up to the survivors from the attack on the base, which is Gemma Arterton's character, Glenn Close's character, who plays a scientist, Paddy Considine's one, and then Melanie as well. It's up to them to try and survive, but things are against them. Now, there isn't a clip, unfortunately. It's a British film, so no clip. Now, what did I tell you after seeing this film? Because you saw this film in a preview about a week and a half ago, didn't you? And then you thought that this film would be perfect for me. It would be my kind of film.
Yeah, and
but
you
then
said you were wrong.
You
didn't like it, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like the film itself is badly acted, apart from the girl who, the actress who plays Melanie, Sanaya Nanawa. I thought that the storyline was very mundane. I thought everything involved with the film was badly created. And I lie, because it's not. The film itself is brilliant. Sorry, I just wanted to throw a curveball. The film is actually brilliant.
It's okay, I'll make you suffer for it later.
Thank you. So what I've just alluded to there would have been what I would have said if I didn't like the film, but I absolutely really like this film because it reminded me of The Last of Us. Now, I love The Last of Us video game, and there is a lot in common with that. In the video game in The Last of Us, you've got these creatures called they're infected by a fungus called the cordyceps, and that's exactly what it is in this. It's a cordyceps fungus, and so if anything reminds me of The Last of Us, there you go. The people who created that game, Colin McCarthy is your man for directing the film. They want to make a film out of it. It's brilliantly acted by everybody involved. The best thing what I like about the film is the director hasn't sort of like segregated anybody off. He hasn't said this film is female centric, because it is supposedly about the relationship between Gemma Arterton's character and Melanie. But it's not just about that. It's also about the scientist played by Glenn Close to try and come up with a cure. It's about the sergeant played by Paddy Considine, sort of like at the start of the film going from somebody who you think this is a nasty character to somebody who you think, you know what, his character is really well created, very well rounded, very different as well. And also the few of the people who were with the group, you want them to survive. And so it's a good eclectic mixed group with between females, between males, between blacks and whites. And so the director doesn't segregate anybody off. I think that Sanaya Nanawa is just a breath of fresh air. There was an interview with Gemma Arterton who turned around and said that she was the last person cast in the film. She was the last one cast in the role of Melanie. And she's just phenomenal in the role. Reminded me of Corvenzia Wallace in Beasts of the Southern Wild when I first saw that. How unbelievable that an actress at the age of 10 could embody a character like that. And in this case, an actress at the age of 12, 13 when the film came out, could embody a character of such intelligence as Melanie is in that. A very complex character, but really well rounded and very well created. And overall, the movie itself is tense. The story flows fantastically. You want and feel for the characters as well, and just it's an intelligent zombie film. And British directors really do know how to do zombie movies. A lot of American directors, etc., need to take note. This is how you do a zombie film, or in this case, Hungries.
It's kind of like a different take on the whole zombie genre thing, and it does it in a similar kind of way to the other Gemma Arterton film, which did a twist on the vampire things with Byzantium. It kind of takes it and adds something new to it and does something different and makes it interesting. And the thing is, you got the thing of them holding these the character as well of Melanie. Senna Nano is able to sort of convey absolute brilliant sort of innocence and curiosity and intelligence, and then in one moment, and then the next moment there's like a bit when someone's there and she's like, no, get away from me, stop, I can smell you. And she's basically saying that, and she's like, you know, just get away from me, or I'm going to end up killing you, sort of thing. And it's that whole thing of that threat then is there as well, and it's brilliant performance from her. Good performance, as you're saying, from everyone else. Gemma Arterton, Glenn Close, Paddy Considine. It's a real nice thing. I mean, it's a film that it's not, but it could very well be a sequel to the 28 days and 28 weeks later, or to even World War Z. It's got a similar kind of feel to them, but then it takes it and it does something new with it as well. So it's not like, it's kind of like you think maybe thinking when it gets to a certain point you think, oh, we're just going to do the same with those films, it's more of those again, and then you're like, oh no, it's doing something different, and okay, nice. It's got its own thing. It's like saying about the Magnificent Seven takes all these ideas and all these things and puts them in a film again, and basically puts them in a blender, and then just puts it on mix and goes, here you go, there's some of this, some of that, all the same, and does nothing itself. This is the complete opposite. This takes all those things and then goes, oh wait, we'll add a bit of this, and we'll take some of this out, and we'll do this, and we'll do this differently, and turn this over, and it's a complete different animal, basically, and in more ways than one, and it's very, very good in those parts. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great, and I think coming into the year, I suspect it will be in not our top 10, our top 5.
Yeah. I just want one more thing to mention. The soundtrack, the music score, done by Cristobal Tapia de Veer, is strange, but it suits the film to a T. It right at the start, the where it starts to build and add layers onto the music to absolutely ramp up the tension. You know that there's something to do with these children just in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and the way he actually brings the music and builds it up is phenomenal. It's a very strange, very, very dark and twisted soundtrack. Under the Skin, it reminded me a lot of that. I just thought the Scarlett Johansson film. I thought that film had a very strange soundtrack, but it fit the strangeness of the film. This film is not strange, but the soundtrack is very, very weird, but it suits it to a T. It's a brilliant, brilliant score.
Yeah, it's very. It's a very unnerving score that suits the film very well.
I think the way he actually builds upon it reminds me of the opening sequence to 28 Weeks Later. This scene where Robert Carlyle is running from the infected people, and you've got that music that builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up, and then it has the ultimate crescendo at the end. That's how this film starts. So again, it has something in common with the 28 days, 28 weeks later double bill from the soundtrack point of view.
Okay, on to Dare to Be Wild, which is a small Irish movie about the true story of the woman Mary Reynolds, who applied and basically entered into the Chelsea Flower Show in 2001, I think it was, or 2002, and she had no real sort of big experience or anything like that, but she managed to get her way into that big prestigious flower show because of the fact that she was kind of learning to be a garden designer, and she had this kind of knack for nature and the design of nature and the way that she kind of viewed things of that man is nature and nature is man sort of thing. Don't have a clip for this again because it's a small film and there was not really many clips out there that would kind of work. But it's a film with a good performance from you have in there Emma Greenwell and Tom Hughes are sort of the main characters in the film, and it's a film that it has got these moments in it which it kind of started losing me when it kind of started going into a bit of the kind of Celtic magic kind of side of nature and sort of thing, which I found to be it didn't really feel right in the film because it kind of comes in at a point and then it just kind of gets dropped and it doesn't really do anything with it. But the rest of the film, other parts of it, I thought was really well done. The filming of it is beautifully done. The whole design of everything and the way it looks and the way the scenes as she goes on a kind of a discovery, trying to convince someone to help her who's over basically in Ethiopia, building kind of plantations out there that are recovering desert land, and all that sort of thing happening, and it delves into that a bit as well, and it's beautifully shot for the countryside and the way things look, and as well as that having a kind of a good central performance in it. So it's only a PG film. There's nothing specially in it that's outstanding of that even requires that much. But it's a perfectly fine kind of film about a true story thing. If you're into gardening, if you know the character, if you know Mary Reynolds and the fact that she's a designer and how things worked out and such, I could say, but I don't want to. You can go and Google it and stuff. But it's a film that if you know the character and know the person, then you will probably love it. If you like gardening, you probably like it. If you're not, it may be not for you. But I'm not into that sort of thing, and I kind of enjoyed it. And I don't like gardening at all. I hate gardens. But I got into it and I was perfectly entertained and it was fine.
Yeah, pass. It's getting a tiny release, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It was just a case of it being on, and I had the time to go and see it after having seen something else, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And there are films that I actually saw it in the same day I saw Magnificent Seven. I'm not saying I enjoyed it more, but it was more, I think, better original and stuff. It's I don't know that I'd say go and see that instead of going to see Magnificent Seven, because a lot of people will go, oh, I'm bored with it, I don't like it. I'd rather have seen Magnificent Seven because it's not an action film. But it was entertaining. It kept my attention for the hour and 40 odd minutes that it ran.
Okay, then before I get on the last film to review, sort of movie related, again a piece of news that I've just seen there. It is rumoured that Disney, the all big, huge, massive conglomerate that is Disney, is rumoured to be buying Twitter.
Oh well, bye Twitter then.
Yes, so Disney might own Twitter. Hooray. 31, directed by Rob Zombie. A director who is sort of had a bit of a miss side hit record kind of thing. So he started off with his directorial debut, House of a Thousand Corpses, and then sort of made a pseudo sequel in The Devil's Rejects, and then blew it all the way with the two Halloween reboots, remakes, whatever you want to call it, and then John Carpenter coming out and saying they are the worst remakes he has ever seen, and then decided sort of go off, take a break, do some of his music again, come back with House of Salem, got absolutely slated, and then now directing 31. And in the film it stars his wife again, who's been in every single one of his films, Sherry Moon Zombie. It's set in 1974, around about that time, during Halloween, the day before Halloween as a matter of fact, and it centres around a group of people who were on a road trip, very much akin to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They get accosted, kidnapped, and thrown into this sort of huge, massive, abandoned warehouse of sorts, where Malcolm McDowell's character, who is sort of come off the set of Amadeus, mixed with the Rocky Horror Show, in huge, massive wigs and powdered white faces, along with two cohorts, decides to pit these group of friends against insane clowns. Absolute insane clowns over the period of 12 hours. So it's up to these people to try and survive against these maniacal clowns, everything from a midget clown up to these two brothers who are obsessed with chainsaws, to Richard Brake's insane clown. And so can these people survive? Well, Malcolm McDowell's character and his two cohorts don't think so, because they're always constantly betting against them. The film's rubbish. It honestly, it is rubbish. Rob Zombie, just because he had a cult classic with House of a Thousand Corpses, very, very small budget, reminded me of sort of like the Toolbox Murders, not the original because the original is garbage, but the Toby Hooper reboot of it. As a matter of fact, it's one of those rare cases where the remake is better than the original. But yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that because it's quite self-contained and there's something murderous afoot. Rob Zombie, he throws clowns in it, so hadn't that colorophobic kind of feel to it, but honestly, you can watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space and they're much more malevolent than these stupid people who are in a bit of makeup thinking that they're psychopaths. The unkillable people. Just because they're going up against the most dumbest things you've ever seen in any kind of horror movie. I know in a horror movie you've got the trait where people running in the woods and they trip, all of a sudden the killer can catch up to them. Or people manage to find a car they've driven 100 miles away, yet the killer is actually there. Something like that. Killer has telepathic and teleportation, just every kind of thing known to man. So it's understandable in slasher movies like that. But making your characters dumb when they're in a small little contained area against these mutants who you think supposedly are absolutely insane killers is just ridiculous. The film is terrible. There are a few gory moments. There's a scene where you see one of the clowns fall on top of his chainsaw and he gets pushed onto it. But that reminds you from one of the psychopaths out of the video game Dead Rising 2, which you do that to anyway. You end up killing the character by pushing him onto a chainsaw, and it's a clown also who laughs while he's getting his body ripped in half. That doesn't happen in this one, but even gorehounds will just go, Rob Zombie, go back to your music. That's what he needs to do, just go back to his music. He's a terrible director. Stop directing films. It's awful. It should have been released next month as well. It's strange that it came out in September. It should have been released on Halloween.
Well, there'll probably be enough competition at Halloween from other things that we'll see then.
No, because it was originally going to be Rings, and so Rings has been pushed back to February, so there's nothing else out, I don't think, on Halloween, so yeah. Avoid it. Just avoid it.
Okay, that's it for this week's cinema section. We're going to have a quick break, after which we'll be back with the DVD and Blu-ray section. Stuart's just going to have to sit there a minute. I'm going to have some chocolate.
Good for you.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
I really do hope that you have finished your chocolate.
Yep, thank you.
I actually really do hope that you're muted the mics as well, considering that I got no countdown, so I haven't a clue when to start.
Yeah, well, you can hear the track though.
I can, but still, very unprofessional. Just because you were nominated on chocolate doesn't mean that you have to be very unprofessional. And just because I threw a curveball when it comes to go with all the gifts. Is that your sort of like getting your own back?
Oh no, I'm plotting that. I have like a list in front of me. I'm writing stuff.
Okay. Does it involve a takeaway turning up at my door? We'll move on.
Okay,
Move on. We're into the Blu-ray and DVD section of this week's show. Coming up, we have 4 films to review. A very small week when it comes to the home release section. We're looking at...
we have weird comedy in The Nice Guys, animation in Kingsglaive, Final Fantasy 15, a period drama comedy with love and friendship, and horror with The Darkness.
Yeah, and it's called Kingsglaive, not Kingsglaive, because Kingsglaive refers to something in the film.
I'm sure I said Kingsglaive. I've got it written down as Kingsglaive.
But you said Kingsglaive, unfortunately.
Sorry, I'm still kind of eating chocolate.
Good for you. And we also have our TV movie of the week, our overall movie of the week, but it is the Blu-ray and DVD top 10, isn't it? Where you're eating chocolate, so you probably...
No,
I'm have it in front of you?
Yeah, I do have it in front of me. I'm just going to say there are a couple of entries that went in way down the list than I kind of expected, one of them at least. Everybody Wants Some. 67.
Yes.
I'm surprised by that. I'm genuinely surprised by that.
I'm not surprised because I don't think it has that much of an audience.
It doesn't have a massive audience, but it's Richard Linklater. I thought it would have done better than that. Maybe above 50 or something, but yeah. And Abattoir went at 62.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, from what you were saying, I haven't seen that, but you didn't really like it much. Another one I'm really kind of disappointed with: Whiskey Tango Foxtrot 37.
Yeah, I would have expected slightly better from that. Maybe it's top 20. I didn't expect it to go top 10, but not that low down.
Yeah, and Friend Request went in at 28.
That's the one I expected to be in the top 10, very low top 10. But again, it's a silly release for it. It should have been released around about Halloween.
Yeah, and I think it's obviously because of having Tom Hanks in it. Hologram for the King is kind of the highest non-top 10 entry there of Hologram for the King.
Yeah, number 14. Again, a movie that you would have expected to be in the top 10. And the other film that we reviewed on last week's show, which failed to make the top 10, is The Daughter, which failed to make the top 100.
Although that's a very, very small Australian film, so there's not. I don't think there's kind of the recognition and awareness of it, to be honest.
But it still failed to even make it into the top 100. Yeah. So when you've got movies like Crimson Peak actually re-entering the top 100, you would maybe expect something new, like The Daughter, to be even just scraping in the bottom end of the chart, but nope.
No. So going on with number 10, Deadpool,
which I just bought on 4K Blu-ray.
Woo.
Yeah, because it was my birthday yesterday, and as a birthday treat, I bought myself an Xbox One S. So one of the tiny little, small little white Xbox Ones. And it's a 4K Blu-ray player.
What's the S? What is the S?
As in small. It's 40% smaller than the Xbox One. But it contains a 4K Blu-ray player with HDR support as well, which is nice because my TV supports HDR as well. And instead of buying a brand new game, because it came with a copy of FIFA 17, I actually bought a Blu-ray for the first time in a very long time. And I bought Deadpool on Ultra HD of 4K Blu-ray. And you can notice the difference. It looks phenomenal in that front, so I'm helping it. It's a fun film.
Okay, Revenant's at number 9.
We've gone over this constantly. It's a movie that's why can't it just get out the top 10? Put some new stuff in there.
Because
it's very good, but it has its problems.
It can't get out the top 10 because people keep putting things in like London Has Fallen at number 8.
Garbage, rubbish and garbage.
Yeah. Highest new entry this week, number 7, Green Room.
Yeah, which it's as we alluded to, it surprised me that the highest new entry has only gone in at number 7, because there is a few films that we would expect it to even scrape in the bottom end of the top 10 there, but Green Room should have been much higher. It definitely deserves it. It's a sort of like a gruesome horror film in a way, even though I didn't find it gruesome at all, and I couldn't see where the controversial scene is. I still need to, because a lot of obviously reviewers were put off with mentioning what the nasty scene that they thought was. I need to know what people think it is. Then I can score. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, or no, I can't see it.
I'll give you a clue. It's a scene that I'm aware of. It's the scene which involves a door and an arm.
Okay, well, let me know once we finish the show, so I can actually put my brain at rest just a little bit, so I can see where people might be coming from, where the extreme scene is in the film. I can see maybe one or two spots where it might be, but I think it's because my brain is completely desensitized to all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't stop Green Room from being a very well created film, and it's making me go back and watch Blue Ruin, which I didn't like the first time, and I've only seen it once anyway.
Number 6 is climbing up the chart, The Lady in the Van.
Yeah, again, don't know why. It's probably on special offer there. Very good acting in the film itself. It has a problem in the first 20-25 minutes where you have to put up with the whiny characters, but after that, it's dear Maggie Smith. Anything that she's in, she does a really good performance.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice at number 5.
I will not be buying this on 4K. I will not be buying it at all because I still think it's very, 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 very average.
Zootropolis at number 4.
Excellent film, brilliant animation, very smart, very dark at times. There's something in there for the young audience as well as the older audience. And I'm surprised that it stuck around this long, even though I still think its problem is that it has no memorable characters in it. In the front that, if you do walk into a Disney shop, you see a lot of the characters from this movie in the discount bin, because nobody knows who they are.
And the top 3 films have not changed positions from last week. So number 3, you have Bad Neighbours 2.
Not bad. It's a tolerable comedy. It got about 2 laughs out of me, the same as the first one. It has a small little part in it where it doesn't actually speak down to one sort of like group of people there, and it could have, but it never falls down that trap there. But it's still average at best.
Jungle Book's at number 2.
It's just very well created. A live action movie based on a Disney animated classic, which works rather than which falters.
And Captain America: Civil War at number 1,
which is probably going to be number 1 for a few more weeks.
Well, I don't know. Maybe one of these films might manage to knock it off the top after it's been out for a couple of weeks.
Nope. I see. You're reviewing The Nice Guys next.
Yeah.
This is the first review up. I see that going in mid-table at best.
Okay. So it's written and directed by Shane Black. The Nice Guys. It is a comedy comedy thriller set in the 70s with a couple of characters played by Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling. Russell Crowe plays Jackson Healy, a kind of a muscle for hire guy. And Ryan Gosling plays Holland March, who is a detective, a private investigator. They kind of get pulled into things that are going on surrounding a character at the beginning of the film, where a very, very start of the film, a porn star is killed in a car accident in spectacular fashion, and it results in sort of then things spiraling on from this and connecting onto this to do with a woman that is looking for her daughter, that's hired Holland to try and find, and Jackson being hired by a girl who basically thinks that Holland is out trying to find her and harass her, and sends him after him to beat him up and chase him off, and it turns into a sort of a thing where the two of them end up meeting, crossing paths. Things don't necessarily go as well as they could have, but then they end up kind of realising, hang on, we need to work together on this and try and sort things out. Here's a clip.
Would you mind starting from the top?
Okay, I made a film with Dean, my boyfriend. And the idea was that we were gonna, make this experimental film, an artistic film.
Porno film?
That's just the commercial element, okay? Okay? Sid said we had to have that. And the reality was we were getting our message out there. And it was all in the film. Names and dates and everything that my mom was doing. And once it was out there, once it was in theaters, there's no way that they could suppress it. There's no way that they could cover it up.
So let me get this straight. You made a porno film where the point was the plot.
What's your hangout, man?
So you hear there sort of the weird twist and things, and the joke of it being talking about someone made a porn film with a plot and that kind of thing. That's the kind of sort of the humour as well, because it's got these interesting characters and these scenes where you have the characters and the dialogue between them that is really kind of it's quite fast, it's quite fast paced, and it's quite witty, and there are some great kind of things that you have, sort of characters that say stupid things so they don't think it out, and then they realise, oh wait a minute, that was a bit stupid, and sort of thing, and that's just what Shane Black writes fantastically well. It's very similar in that regards then to, of course, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the other film that he wrote, similar thing about a man who ends up teaming up with a private investigator, just set modern day instead of being set in the 70s. And the thing is with this, I found that I really got into it. I had a good laugh with it. I was laughing all the way through it. It definitely got laughs, even though it's not a laugh out loud big sort of, it's not a stupid comedy. It is a thriller with just stupid jokes in it, but it never goes into the whole bad taste thing. It's not something that's been directed by Todd Phillips or produced by Judd Apatow. It's something that actually has a proper plot, a story, and it's just making fun of things as it goes along, and it does it with a kind of a flair for style and the dramatics, and I really got into it. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I don't know yet if it's going to be in my top 10 of the year, but it will probably be high up near that. I really liked it. I thought it's witty. I thought it's great characters, good performances from Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, and also Andreas Rice, who plays Holland's daughter. And I just really got into it, and I will gladly watch it again.
And I've yet to see it.
No.
I started to watch it. It's just because the last week for me has been beyond hectic. And this week isn't any better at all. I don't have any free time until Sunday at the earliest this week. So whether I get to see it before next week's show, I doubt it. But I'll try my hardest to watch it before the end of the year.
Yep. Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's
I
it.
thought you were going to rate me or something like that.
No.
Like saying you better.
Well, I hope you watch
Needs
that.
to be-
There's two that I really hope you see. There's that, and I really hope that you see Hell or High Water, because Hell or High Water is kind of like this, but without so much of the humour, and it's great characters and similar kind of a thriller plot.
Okay then, I'll see what I can do, but yeah, doubtful. Next up, Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15. It's based on the upcoming Final Fantasy 15 game. Now, if I get into the sort of like the history of Final Fantasy 15, the game itself, headaches will start to happen.
Yep.
Let's just see it. It was originally called Final Fantasy Versus 13 and then sort of like changed to Final Fantasy 15. It's been delayed so much so that the game is now out in November and it should hopefully see a release. Now, this film here, what they've done to sort of like celebrate the release of Final Fantasy 15 over this year, they've done this CGI film, very similar in the guise to The Spirits Within and Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children. They also did a small little YouTube web series, which I think was 6 episodes long, and so that was released first, and then this was released second. It's directed by Takeshi Nozu, who did Advent Children as well, and in this one, the story is quite complex, but to boil it down to its simplistic form, it centres around a kingdom called Lucius, which is home to this hallowed crystal, which enables to produce a barrier around the city to protect it. However, there is a menacing city on the outskirts, which is sort of like their foe, Niflheim. Now, the king of that city there wants a peace treaty to happen, so along with the king of Lucius, who's voiced by Sean Bean, tries to come together with a peace treaty. Now, the day when this peace treaty is going to happen, nefarious things occur. You discover that the king of Niflheim didn't want a peace treaty in the first place. As a matter of fact, he wanted to get himself into Lucius so he can get hold of this crystal, which lo and behold is on a ring, to try and bring down this barrier and cause a war. Now, sandwiched in between this war, you have a queen, well, a princess, voiced by Lena Headey, who is supposedly going to be marrying the king from Niflheim's son, and you've also got a soldier called Nyx, who's voiced by Aaron Paul. It's up to him to try and protect the princess and try and get her to safety, because the king is in a lot of trouble along with this protection ring. You with me?
I just have a question. Does Sean Bean's character get killed at some point?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's a good Sean Bean performance then.
Yeah, spoiler, but yeah. Cheers for that question, leading into a spoiler. But yeah, he unfortunately does. I honestly have got more notes written down, but I don't want to scramble people's brains, because the thing with the film itself, the only people who are actually going to get something out of Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15 is the people who have been following the convoluted story regarding Final Fantasy 15 all the way back to when it was called Versus Final Fantasy 13 Versus. There was supposed to have been 3 games released in the Final Fantasy 13 series, and Versus 13 was supposed to have been the sequel to the sequel of Final Fantasy 13. Then it was changed and then spun off into Final Fantasy 15, but they were reluctant to actually release it as Final Fantasy 15 because 14 didn't do as well, which was an MMORPG.
I'm getting really bored.
The only people to understand this is those kind of people who understand what I've just said there. And so you've just said, oh, I'm getting bored of this, and so lo and behold, you will be bored of this. Despite an opening set piece which is just spectacular in scale and scope, which features a lot of demons and explosions and teleportations, especially Nyx. He has this knack of being able to throw this blade and getting teleported to where this blade is going to land, and then ultimately strike his foe. And so you've got a fantastic set piece there, and then you've got about 40 minutes of dialogue, heavy dialogue as well, and then a set piece, and then some more heavy dialogue, and then a set piece, and then a little bit more dialogue, and then the end crux of it. So Final Fantasy fans will get something out of this. Non-Final Fantasy fans, or people who have just got a headache from my description there, will go, nah, I think I'll just pass. So I understand Final Fantasy down to its basic levels, and I thought the film was not bad. I think Advent Children is a much better film because it's much more coherent. But yeah, I thought it was not bad, and I understand some of it. If you don't understand it, then just no. Go and watch Zootropolis or something like that instead. That's not to say Zootropolis is bad, it's not. But yeah, this is just, yeah, for Final Fantasy fans only.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. As much as I've played it, I don't really have an interest in watching
There was
it.
a clip as well, but I didn't see the point of you playing the clip.
Okay. Love and Friendship, which is based on the Jane Austen novel Lady Susan. This is written and directed by Whit Stillman. It is a comedy drama, sort of a weird kind of romance aspect to it. Of in the 1780s, I think it is. You have this woman, Lady Susan Vernon, played by Kate Beckinsale, who is a woman who is she is a widow. Her husband is long passed. She has a daughter who's away at school, and she's basically in a situation where she's having to look and try and basically find herself a suitor and remarry someone, because of the fact that that's basically how women lived in those days, and how they basically sort of built up their money, their worth. And you have this whole thing of that she's trying to sort this out. There are weird things going on to do with her and sort of secret relations that she's having with a married man and amongst other people, and it all kind of starts to sort of wrap up and build up, because she's has her sister-in-law, who is played by Chloe Sevigny, who is basically helping her to kind of subvert other people and keep things secret, except for then, of course, one time when a letter that's been sent to her is opened by someone else and read in the company of the man of which Susan is trying to kind of win over. Here's a clip.
Madam, agonies, my dear.
What's happened?
The worst. Disaster.
Disaster?
Mr. De Courcy arrived just when he shouldn't have. Lucy Mannering had just forced herself into Mr. Johnson's study to sob her woes.
Has she no pride? No self-respect?
What an impression she makes. Bursting from Mr. Johnson's library, wailing like a struck child. But seeing the letter in your handwriting, she tore it from Reginald to read aloud.
No.
Yes. Mannering comes this very hour.
And Reginald heard that?
He read it himself.
How ungentlemanly. It's shocking. I can't believe it.
Yes, very shocking.
A gentleman entrusted with correspondence marked private reads it regardless, and then, because of a few confidential remarks, the obloquy is mine. And who has acted badly in this affair? Only you and I stand innocent of reading other people's correspondence.
Unluckily, Lady Mannering also wormed out of her husband's servant that Mannering visited you in private.
Oh. Facts are horrid things.
So you have this character who is you hear in that sort of moment. It's not laugh out loud, but it's witty sort of character and humour in the fact of that she's bemoaning the fact that the man that she's trying to win over the affections of overhears a letter of hers that someone else read out loud, and she's kind of feels insulted and feels that he's quite rude for having overheard the letter being read by someone. So she kind of blames him for it, sort of thing. And it's got that kind of witty humour all the way through it in the dialogue and the characters, and there's all these kind of different people in there that have these things. There's one character who is sure that there are 12 commandments, and someone corrects him and says, no, there's 10. And he goes, oh, well, what two are to be done away with, sort of a thing, because he just doesn't get it. And it's little stupid things like that, but it's character. But I found it oddly enticing and entertaining. Nothing special, not as great as I've heard some people say of it, but I really did enjoy it and get into it and have a laugh with it. The one thing I did feel, though, very in a negative way, is it did feel very much at times like it was turning into a sketch show, so like something out of Monty Python almost, with the way it was shot, and the way it's almost like you have these characters come into a scene. They talk they're doing a discussion of something, or they're going something and it leads to something, and then one of them says something stupid at the end, which is kind of the punchline of the whole bit, and then it cuts away to something else, and you kind of think, oh well, that's that sketch bit over with, what's the next one? And I had that feeling several times throughout, and it distracted me away from the whole story-wise of it. I do think, though, it's perfectly fine. Kate Beckinsale is very good in it. Chloe Sevigny is very good in it. Stephen Fry pops up in a small role at one point, and it's got a good cast all around that are just perfectly fine. Nothing special, but it was enjoyable and witty and fun.
Right, on to the final film, The Darkness, not about the band. Directed by Greg McLean. Now that sort of like surprised me. After I watched the film, I wasn't sure who directed it, and then it popped up with the director and went, really? He directed this? Now, Greg McLean did Wolf Creek and the sequel, and he also had a hand in producing the TV series, which I've yet to see yet. I think there's only like 6 episodes of it. Supposedly it's not bad. But it did make me question, really, now this got a minute release in the cinemas. And it stars Kevin Bacon and Rhona Mitra. They play parents of 2 children, daughter and son. They go away on holiday to the Grand Canyon, and when the son decides to venture off from the group, and he discovers this stone in a cave somewhere, he takes it back home, and then strange things start to happen. Now, the son himself, it's alluded to throughout the film that he's got sort of like an autistic nature, and they think that the things that are occurring in the house, the supernatural stuff that's occurring, is down to his nature, whether it be down to like strange little noises happening, things moving, stuff like that. But then they start to question whether it is actually him who's causing it, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he decides to set fire to a bedroom wall. And then they discover something else nefarious is at foot. Now, the film itself is terrible, apart from the last 15 minutes. Now, if you take out the last 15 minutes and look at the first sort of like hour and a half, it's a really badly constructed movie. No matter how hard Kevin Bacon's character and Rhona Mitchell's character tries to sort of like bring some family drama into the movie, it's destroyed instantly by both the son, played by David Mazoux, and the sister, played by Lucy Fry, because all she wants to do is scream and punch her mother, and all the son wants to do is just be really, really annoying. And so to put up with that 90 minutes there, and to get to the last 15 minutes, which works really well, because it's very well shot and very well creepily constructed, is a hard thing to do. And I don't think there is an audience out there who would suffer through 90 minutes to watch 15 minutes of something that's quite inventive and very well constructed. It reminds you of when you saw Poltergeist for the first time. It's just there's a lot of boredom to sit through to get to that. So overall, the film itself is a major fail, apart from the last 15 minutes. Simple as that. And that's it for the new releases of the week. TV movies of the week.
I got a fair number.
So do I.
Yeah. Will I go through mine then, or do you want to go yours first?
You go through. I've got 3.
Okay, I've got more than 3.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, Wednesday 28th September, film 4, 6:20 p.m, so maybe a little bit edited or so, but Mud, the Matthew McConaughey film.
And it's only at 12, so it shouldn't be edited.
Yeah, but I think it might be at that time. Thursday the 29th, film 4 again, 6:45 is The Addams Family.
I haven't got that.
It's the one. Yeah, but it's a great film, isn't it? Friday the 30th is More 4, 9 o'clock is The Debt. Saturday the 1st of October, Channel 4, so 12:15 a.m, so Saturday night, Sunday morning, How I Live Now. Very, very good Saoirse Ronan film, small independent British film. And a shout out to, in particular, on Sunday the 2nd of October on Film 4 at 9 o'clock is the channel premiere of Lone Survivor, which we were talking about earlier in the show, Peter Berg. And he's doing Horizon, Deepwater Horizon, out next week with Mark Wahlberg, and he did this film with Mark Wahlberg, so you may want to check out this if you're not sure about that, and have a look and decide on that as well. But my TV movie of the week is on Channel 4, Friday the 30th at 12:55 a.m, so Friday night, Saturday morning, and that's Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and the voice of Scarlett Johansson.
The beautiful voice of Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good choice. I also chose Mud, because I saw that there, and Mud's a very good film, but I think Film 4 have an extremely good week when it comes to movies, and the other two, it's a coin toss-up for me of movie of the week, but I'll leave the last one, my movie of the week, to last TV movie of the week. They're all on Film 4 as well. Film 4 on at 20 to 2 in the morning on Thursday, so this late Wednesday night, is Beasts of the Southern Wild, which I've already mentioned on tonight's show, the Covenzia Wallace film. It's a fantastically fantasy kind of drama movie, but it's just brilliant. It's seeing the life of a 10-year-old through her eyes, and it's just mesmerisingly played by Covenzia Wallace, who unfortunately went off and did Annie, which is sort of like a strike against her career, but I forgive her, because she did did Beast of the Southern Wild. But my movie of the week, it is on late Saturday night, early Sunday morning at 1:20 in the morning. It's the absolutely brilliant Kings of Summer. Now, if you've not seen it, you definitely need to see it. It's directed by Jordan Vogt-Roberts, who's doing the new Kong film, Kong Skull Island, and is rumoured to be doing the new Metal Gear Solid film as well. So going from something like Kings of Summer to Kong Skull Island, Kings of Summer is sort of like a cross between Stand By Me meets those kind of films there. It's very much like Stand By Me. So maybe that's the reason why I latched myself so much onto this film. But it's just brilliant. It's about a few friends who just think that they are kings of summer and just try to enjoy their summer. And it's just, I loved it. I absolutely loved that film. So that's my TV movie of the week. Before we get into our overall movie of the week, make sure you check out the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk so you can see when the show is going to be on next and what we are reviewing. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. Andrew's on there at EHDVD. I'm there at Cryptic Tadpole. You can also listen to Following the Gamer, which there wasn't a show last weekend. There is a show this weekend. I know 3 weeks gap, but busy people. So check that out as well. It'll be on this feed and it'll be on everywhere where you can find this show as well. From Page to Screen, Stuart's going through moving problems at the moment, so don't know when he's going to be releasing a podcast. Check out he's from Page to Screen on Twitter. You'll find out when. And also Following the Nerd, followingthenerd.com. What is your overall movie of the week?
I think it'll be the same as you, The Girl with All the Gifts.
Yep.
And on DVD, of course, The Nice Guys.
Yeah, well, I can't comment on that front there, but yeah, Girl with All the Gifts is our overall movie of the week, and that's it for this week's show. We'll play you out with a clip for Tim Burton's new film, which is actually getting a lot of praise. Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children looks very quirky and very interesting, so we'll be reviewing that on next week's show, and until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We're what's known in common parlance as peculiar. 51 seconds late, Fiona.
Sorry, Miss Peregrine. How many carrots do you need for supper?
Just one will do. Peculiars have been persecuted through the ages. Hence, we live in places like this. I'm a type of peculiar called an imbrine.
Yeah, you turn into a bird.
Well, I do, yes. But that's not very useful. An imbrine's main skill is the manipulation of time. We choose a safe place, a safe day, and create a loop.
What do you mean?
Well, a loop preserves the last 24 hours. Reset the loop, and the day is yours to live in again. Reset it daily, and you can stay there forever. Entirely safe from the outside world. Every imbrine commits herself to the creation and upkeep of a place like this. A home for peculiar children.